In the late 19th century, during the gathering of millions at the sacred Kumbha Mela, an event older than recorded history, an immortal master known as Mahavatar Babaji appeared to the sage Swami Yukteswar. In that timeless meeting, beneath the vast sky of India and the ancient flow of the Ganges, Babaji delivered a commission to reveal the underlying unity of the world's religions and to write a scripture that would harmonize East and West, ancient and modern, science and spirit. Sri Yukteswar accepted the task. What followed was not merely the writing of a book, but the unveiling of a concealed pattern woven through all spiritual traditions. At the deepest level, beneath language, culture, doctrine, and symbolism, there exists a single truth, one law, one current, one reality, expressed in different forms across the ages. The holy science was composed to reveal that unity. Its purpose is to show that the differences between religions arise not from truth itself, but from the limitations of human interpretation. The eternal reality is one. The forms through which it is perceived are many. This work seeks to illuminate the thread that binds them, the inner science shared by all paths, and the universal principles that guide every soul towards realization. It speaks of the origin of creation, the nature of consciousness, the structure of the universe, the journey of the soul, and the method by which the individual may return to the eternal spirit. Its teachings arise not from speculation or philosophy, but from direct perception, the knowledge of those who have entered the inner light. Today, this revelation, this journey is brought into a new format, a new telling, that it may be received by the world in a wider array than ever before. The nature of time can be understood through something called the Yugas, vast cycles that govern the rise and fall of human consciousness. Yet the system preserved in many almanacs today is distorted. The true Yuga cycle is far more elegant, far more scientific, and far more closely aligned with the observable development of human intellect and civilization. According to the ancient astronomy of the Rishis, the sun does not wander alone. It revolves around a companion star, that of Sirius, completing one full orbit in approximately 24,000 years. This grand motion produces the backwards shifting of the equinoxes. And as the sun moves closer or farther from the spiritual center known as Vishnu Nabi, the seat of divine magnetism, it must be known that this is the real reason for the rise and fall of human consciousness, not what was previously understood as the Earth's precession pointing towards the galactic center. The orbits of our sun and Sirius around each other form a Vesca Pisces, and there is a magnetic point between the two that forms a heightened energetic state. That magnetism affects us the closer we move towards it. And so, when the sun reaches the point nearest Vishnu Nabi, the mental virtue of humanity becomes fully awakened. In that age, people easily perceive the truth of spirit. When the sun reaches its farthest distance, consciousness darkens and humanity becomes unable to grasp anything beyond the material world. Within each 12,000 year half of this cycle, the development or decline of human consciousness unfolds through 4 distinct ages and then returns back to its starting point with another 12,000 year cycle. The Kali Yuga spans 12,000 years, a time when mental virtue is only 1/4 awakened and human intellect cannot perceive beyond gross material creation. The Dwapara Yuga spans 24,000 years, when intellect expands enough to grasp subtle forces, the electricities, the fine matters underlying the world. This includes an understanding of forces like electromagnetism and the quantum, and also is said to be a long and gradual incline into telepathy between all people. This is the age we are in today. Treta Yuga comes next, spanning 3,600 years, when humanity becomes capable of understanding divine magnetism, the subtle cause behind all electrical forces. Satya Yuga spans 4,800 years, the age of full spiritual illumination, when consciousness perceives the eternal directly. Together, these 4 ages form a 12,000 year arc, and when paired with their descending or ascending counterpart, they create the full 24,000 year cycle. With every age, there is also a transitional window of several hundred years between each one. If we were to look back at the history of humanity, it is often associated that approximately 12 or 13,000 years ago, we fell from the heights of our enlightened age in what is commonly known as the fall of Atlantis. And despite having access to higher levels of magnetic currents from Vishnu Nabi, our fallen state produced a unique circumstance of disconnection and winding down through the cycles toward the Kali Yuga. The Kali Yuga began in 700 BC, marking the start of humanity's long descent into spiritual darkness. Over the next 12 centuries, consciousness steadily declined, subtle understanding faded, and human awareness contracted into an age dominated by materialism and ignorance. During this long descent, a lineage of luminous teachers arose to plant the seeds of awakening across the world. In ancient China, Lao Tzu revealed the Tao, the silent, formless origin of all things. In India, Gautama Buddha enlightened the path beyond suffering and the awakening of the mind. Centuries later, Jesus of Nazareth embodied divine love and proclaimed the kingdom within. As the age approached its lowest point, new lights continued to appear. Muhammad, who would soon guide millions toward the remembrance of the One, and Kuan Yin, whose veneration blossomed as a symbol of boundless compassion. Even as consciousness dimmed, these messengers of spirit appeared across cultures and centuries, and pointing humanity toward the dawn that would follow. This darkening continued until 499 AD, when the autumnal equinox reached the first point of Libra, the position farthest from the grand center of divine magnetism. At that moment, the Kali Yuga reached its lowest point, and human consciousness stood at its dimmest expression. It is of course more than synchronistic to observe that this date coincides directly with the beginning of what we call the Dark Ages. But from that year onward, the tide began to turn. The descending Kali Yuga ended, and the ascending arc began, slowly lifting humanity back toward greater clarity and understanding. From 499 AD onward, the arc began to rise again. A new phase of Kali Yuga unfolded, the ascending arc, slowly lifting humanity out of its densest shadows. This rising segment continued until 1700 AD, preparing the world for the transition into the electrical age of Dwapara, where understanding of subtle forces and deeper truths would begin to reawaken. Now around 1600, near the threshold between the ascending Kali and early Dwapara, human beings began noticing the existence of fine matters once again. Fine matters are understood as the subtle forces underlying the physical world, the energetic currents and invisible structures that form the bridge between the dense material reality and the subtler layers of the human body and mind. As mentioned, we know these matters as everything from electromagnetism to the quantum reality. And simultaneously, as these perceptions stirred, political and cultural conditions across the world began to stabilize. The Renaissance blossomed, the scientific revolution ignited, and the early discoveries of magnetism, motion, optics, and electricity emerged. Gilbert discovered magnetic forces. Kepler revealed the laws of planetary motion. Galileo unveiled the heavens through a telescope. Drebbel created the microscope. Newton revealed gravitation. New machines harnessed power, and new energies were observed in the human body itself. The world began to change rapidly, and even within the final centuries of Kali Yuga, humanity began awakening to truths that would fully unfold in the age that followed. With the advance of scientific understanding, humanity entered a new age. Railways and telegraph lines spread across the world. Steam engines, electric machines, and new technologies emerged. Fine matters were not yet fully understood, but they were being observed, measured, and applied. In 1899, after 2 centuries of transition, the true Dwapara Yuga of 2,000 years began. A rising age in which humanity will gain a complete understanding of the electricities and their attributes, the subtle foundations of the material world. Such is the influence of time, which governs the universe and elevates or obscures human consciousness. No one can escape its law, except those who become divine through pure love and the baptism of the sacred Om vibration, the cosmic hum of consciousness emanating through all things. This vibration is known in the West by other terms, such as Amen or the Holy Spirit. Yet the position of the world in this ascending age is not correctly shown in the almanacs. Due to errors introduced thousands of years ago, the length of Kali Yuga was multiplied far beyond its true measure due to an accounting error made during the very middle of the Kali Yuga. Instead of understanding the 12,000-year duration given by the ancient rishis, scholars misinterpreted these figures as divine years, inflating the age of darkness to 432,000 years. This error grew from a lack of astronomical understanding during the latter part of the last Dwapara descent. This number is even mainstream today as the Wikipedia page for the Kali Yuga suggests that we are deep in it for over 400,000 more years. Could someone out there watching please take it upon themselves to revise it? The true method of calculation is simple. Track the equinox. The equinox reveals our position in the solar orbit and thus the Yuga we inhabit. When this method is applied, the chronology becomes clear. Humanity is now well into the Dwapara Yuga, not in the deep night of Kali. This age explains the world we see today, the rise of science, the discovery of subtle energies, the global transformation of thought, and the rapid expansion of knowledge. What's more, within the holy science, Sri Yukteswar reveals even deeper principles that modern science has yet to fully grasp. The 5 distinct kinds of electricity, the magnetic forces that govern the formation of all things, and the subtle currents that underlie sensation itself. These finer truths, long obscured during the lower ages, will gradually re-emerge as human consciousness continues to rise. For this reason, the reckoning of years by Yuga rather than political era is encouraged. The year of the writing of the holy science was 194 Dwapara, and today, more than 3 centuries after the dawn of this age, we stand in 325 Dwapara at the time of publishing this video. Now, as the dark age of Kali has long passed, the world reaches again for spiritual knowledge. Humanity seeks truth, clarity, and unity of understanding. And in this rising age, the hope is that these teachings help dispel the misunderstandings that divide nations and faiths, guiding all seekers toward the one truth at the heart of every religion and spiritual belief. Many cultures have been awaiting the time we're in right now for thousands of years. Now, the Mayan calendar is actually the most detailed, specific, and accurate calendar on the planet, but to go into depth on it right now would take a very long time. We will dive into specifics of the calendar later on, but for now let's take a look at the general prophecies that were foretold thousands of years ago, all about the time that we're in right now. According to the Mayans, the solstice on December 21st, 2012, precisely at 11:11 a.m. Universal Time, marks the completion of the 5,125-year Great Cycle of the Mayan long count calendar. 2012 also marks the completion of the 26,000-year precession of the equinoxes cycle, which we discussed in Lesson 5. According to the calendars, it also signifies the end of a 144,000-year cycle, a 78,000-year cycle, and a 26 million-year cycle. The 2012 date marks the completion of this world age cycle, but it does not signify the end. Well, it kind of does. It's the end of what we know, and into a transition of something new. It is a transitional state, but it definitely does not mean this. We'll come back to that. We need to understand that the 2012 prophecies are signaling to us to wake up and realize that these times on Earth are very important. We are living in a landmark time in the history of this planet. We are collectively, as a species, approaching a crossroads that is calling out to us to participate in our fullest capacity. Let me show you a diagram to try and demonstrate just how important this is. First, this is how DNA works. See how you can basically map it out like a story? Here's the beginning, which could be seen as creation, or a start of a cycle. And then it moves outwards, expanding and moving into all potentials until it reaches its peak in the middle. It stretches far out and then begins moving back towards the center, back to its source. But it will be a new space that it now exists in. Then it returns back to a center point where it ends, or transitions into a state where it expands out once more, continuing its infinite cycle of expansion and contraction. One could also say that it moves through the chakras, moving from a low frequency to an incredibly high frequency, where it will unite and transition out once more. Now think of the human species like this, and 2012 being that point of unity where everything comes together, right before starting off again and expanding out into something new and different. This is basically what's happening right now on Earth, but there's a catch. We have absolutely no idea how we're going to expand out, because there are so many potentials with what's happening on the planet right now. Let's go over a few of the basic ones. The first potential is that we all wake up and raise the vibrations of the entire species to a level of love, cooperation, and peace among all human beings. Everything is frequency, and supposedly the planet and everyone on it could experience a dimensional shift, where we move into a higher frequency where even more is possible than on this dimensional plane. We could then start building garden cities and utopias that work harmonically and in tune with nature and each other. Everyone could live in paradise, living from their heart in beauty and splendor. Although it may take a while to get there, by making the appropriate changes right now and setting those intentions, it becomes possible to create those realities sooner than later. A second potential could involve less of us waking up, and much of the world becoming even more intense than the book 1984. Now, there's already way too many beings of light all around the world who are now awake and moving forward on the path of healing themselves and the world around them. And if you're watching this, odds are you are too. So it's silly to think that the Earth could end up like Mars from self-destruction. Though we must be aware that there is still a control system in place, and we have to work with these frequencies in order to heal the planet. I don't think we have anything to worry about though. Perhaps a third potential involves a combination of both. Maybe the beings who raise their own vibrations will move onto the next level of life and begin working with the frequencies of the planet from a higher spectrum. Maybe then the beings who stick around on the lower frequencies end up slowly working together through the darkness and eventually raise up as well. Or even do something completely different, like merge their consciousness into technology like the Borg. I mean, I know our current technology isn't anywhere near there yet, but Earth doesn't have to die even if the people in the lower frequencies keep warring. They're just potentials, and hey, they're pretty fun to think about. On the topic of pole shift and ascension and all that, that's another thing I want to say, that although many religions and cultures speak about this, including the Christian Bible, this is still something of an unknown. A dimensional shift would be absolutely amazing, but we do not have to change dimensions to change the world. We won't know it until it happens, if it happens. But if it does, it would be good to be prepared, right? We'll come back to this in a bit. Now, regardless of all of the potentials we can come up with, let's bring it back to this diagram. Think about how this applies in your life. Every day you live could be seen as one mini spiral. However, 7 small spirals make one larger one across the 7 small ones. This is a week. Then several weeks create a month. Several months create a year. You can map that over your life and see from birth to death, which is just like the Mayan calendar, not the end, but a transition into new level of life. We discussed death in lesson 9, astral projection. Consider 2012 like this diagram, where there are not just several smaller cycles ending, but some very large ones, all at the same time in different windows. Some of them are 4-year windows, some of them are 100-year windows, but all of them essentially are wrapped around this center point. This is where we are right now, not yet at the end of the cycle, but getting very close. This is such an exciting time for us. As mentioned earlier, we cannot know what is going to happen, and I'm not going to tell you it's going to be this or that, because I don't know either. We will change the outcome depending on our being. What's going to happen? You decide. In lesson 1, we discussed how you create your own reality. Many people argued that it didn't make sense when others influence your life from out of the blue. What we didn't discuss, but probably should have, is that we are a collective. We are one species. You create your own reality, but we are all co-creating our realities together on a much broader scale. Think of an ant colony. Each individual ant decides where they want to go, what food they want to collect, and how they want to do it. But collectively, they are all working together to gather food for everyone and do what is necessary for the group, whether it be digging tunnels or gathering leaves. Humans are like that, except our mentality of do what's best for everyone is replaced with get enough money to survive, don't worry about the starving people on the street, help giant entities known as businesses take more money from the people, and don't question what's going on. We're doing it to ourselves, and we're doing it together. Together is the key word here. Together, we can break through barriers. Together, we can absolutely change the world, but we can only do it together, not individually. Individually, we can change our own individual world, which is where we need to start. When we learn that we can all get along with each other, regardless of race or belief or level of consciousness, we learn that absolutely anything is truly possible. But it has to start here, in your heart. In the episode Power of the Heart, we discussed how the heart's electromagnetic field has the capacity to not just affect your body, but those all around you. This means that if you raise the frequency of your heart and your being, you will essentially emanate love and high vibrations all around you wherever you go. You will be way more powerful than a crystal. Now, let's look over everything we discussed today and try and wrap it all up. Just how exactly does all of this fit into one coherent puzzle? This year is probably the most important year in human history since the fall of Atlantis. This is the year when everything comes smashing together and we see what we've created for ourselves. This giant web of a society that just doesn't work and only serves to put more people into poverty and chaos. What are we going to do about it, and how are we going to get there? Where do we want to go? I guess the biggest question is, how does one prepare? The answer lies within. If we are able to look within our hearts and find that love for everyone and everything, including ourselves, this transitional window that the Mayans predicted thousands of years ago will go by so smoothly. Through mass numbers of individuals doing just this, everyone will begin to treat each other better and begin working harmonically through a new state of understanding that we are all one being. Mother Earth is like an organism, just as we are, and we can all work together in harmony to create a beautiful utopia where we all live together in peace and harmony and abundance. This is the nature of the shift we are going through and experiencing today. And although we may be a long way away before living in a planet-wide utopia of peace, love, and abundance, today we are laying the foundations and groundwork for this new system. And as we discussed before, the foundation has to first begin within ourselves, wherein after we will translate that into everyday lives and manifest it into the physical reality we live in. Yes, there will still be war, and there still will be chaos. I'm not saying that will just disappear instantly, but we have to be able to move through that with the state of love and peace within our own hearts and bringing that to everyone around us. No matter what happens on this planet, no matter how good or bad things may seem, stay in your heart. Keep filling yourself up with love, even if there is none all around you. It is so important that we keep ourselves tuned to a high frequency. It will make all the difference. I want to share with you a story. This is your story, and this is my story. The evidence we have currently demonstrates that life on Earth appeared roughly 4 billion years ago. Humans arrived maybe 200,000 to 300,000 years ago. Listen to this story, which is yours, and decide what you want to do with it. In truth, this story does not begin on this planet at all, but with a star. A star as beautiful and incredible as all of the other stars in the sky, as amazing as our sun. This star exploded, and in it created a rapid torrent of energy, expanding out in all directions, in all dimensions. From this explosion of energy laid the foundation for new life, new creations, and new manifestations to take place. One such manifestation was our solar system and all of our planets. In the beginning, our planet was a collection of dust and rock particles, a hard-shelled ball. Volcanoes show us what the Earth used to look like and how it evolved. Volcanoes became like a furnace, creating water in liquid form through evaporation and heat emerging from within the crust of the Earth. Water formed vessels like bloodstreams across the face of the planet, and many oceans became heavy with salt. The mineral and rock formations within the Earth gave a means for crystals to form. And crystals contained a natural biological geometry for a higher consciousness to emerge. Where did biological life first spark? Scientists believe primitive life forms called archaeobacteria, blue-green algae, was the first form to turn to the sun for energy and reproduce and evolve. They transformed the atmosphere of the planet. Before this time, the atmosphere was rich with carbon. These billions of microorganisms grew from the carbon, and the carbon drained from the atmosphere and entered the crust to become what was next. The life spread throughout the water, through water cycles, waterfalls, rivers, oceans. All life drinks the same water. Water is essential. Life that grows depends on water. It depends on the sun. The air we breathe comes from the algae. The algae needs fresh water to continue to grow. The engine of life is linkage. In life, everything is connected. Water and air are one. Sharing is everything. In nature, everything is shared. Coral is formed from algae and shells coming together, which provide homes for more fish and other life. Trees took a very long time to grow. They reach upwards towards the sun and are perfect statues as if striving towards higher truth. They have the power to capture life's energy from the sun, turning it into vegetable, wood, and other living matter. From that, new soils are formed. Earth relies on a balance. Every being has a role to play. Every species exists in cooperation and harmony with another species. And this harmony is not easily shattered. Everything is used in nature. Everything has a purpose. How many species are there that we know of? What do we truly know about the bonds that link them all? The Earth is a miracle, and to modern science, life still remains a mystery. Today, life is just a link in a chain of innumerable others over 4 billion years old. And within just a pinprick of that amount of time, we, the Homo sapiens, with our tremendous brains and nearly limitless potential, have disrupted that balance completely. What this means is that there's something really magnificent and fantastic about us. And we may have dropped the ball a bit. Humans appeared on this planet several 100,000 years ago, and we have transformed the face of the planet. There are many stories about how it happened. Nobody knows for sure. The ancients speak of sky people who came down and began inhabiting the lands, of lost civilizations and cities which functioned more in tune with themselves. These records come from our ancestors nearly 6,000 years ago, which today we believed was our first civilization. Regardless of where we came from, we can see what has happened since we have arrived. This is what we're going to look at. We're going to do it in short form because it's really depressing. So just bear with me while we go through this. We have taken control of every species of life, of all lands, and turned it for ourselves. We took control of animals to help discover and conquer new territories. We subjugated the growth of plants, calling it agriculture. From that spawned cities and civilizations, eliminating the need to migrate around and scavenge for food. Now, it was in our backyard. But that wasn't enough. We needed more. We tapped into the energy deep within the earth, pockets of sunlight captured in millions of years worth of coal, gas, and oil. And we have seen more change within 50 years than in the last 13,000 years combined. And not all of it is good. Cities like New York and Los Angeles are symbols of the exploitation of oil and the resources that we have forcibly extracted. There aren't many farmers left, and the industrialized farming actively poison our foods with pesticides, which in turn poisons us. Don't believe me? Just ask the food workers wearing radiation suits. But how can all of the food demands be met without concentration camps of cattle, where not a blade of grass can grow? Instead of grass, trucks haul in grain that is fed to the cattle to become meat to stuff our faces. Houses are cloned, copied, and standardized, wiping creativity off the map. Everywhere, machines dig, rip, bore, and tear into the earth, faster and faster, without any regard for the millions of years worth of what Mother Earth has been creating. Excessive mining will soon exhaust all of the planet's reserves. 100 millions of metric tons of fish have been exhausted. Most large fish have been fished out of existence because they no longer have time to reproduce. Globally, water levels are falling. Places like Las Vegas are the biggest consumers of water in the world, where in other places they have none, and women dig aquifers day after day. Deforestation tears up the earth to make way for new factories. In some places, deforestation is a last resort for survival. Every 1 in 6 humans live in a crowded, overpopulated environments and don't have access to clean water or even electricity. The current plan, it seems, is to pick every pocket of sunlight and use it all up until there's none left. Even heating the tar sands in Canada is getting consumptuous. The way we burn fuel pumps carbon back into the atmosphere, upsetting the Earth's climactic balance as well. How long can this mirage continue? How long can we continue to fool ourselves into thinking that we can survive on this Earth that we're creating? This is our home. It is our responsibility to ourselves and to everything else on this planet to correct the mistakes that we've made. Now, I'd like to make something clear about what's just been shared. What we've been looking at, the poverty, the water levels, the exploitation of oil, and raping Mother Earth's body for anything that we can get our hands on. Well, this is often looked at as the cause of what's going on. In truth, this is the result. This is what we've created as a result of what's going on. So what's really going on? This is something we've looked at before in spirit science. This vibe that often feels like a gnashing, gnawing, tearing apart feeling. It feels like it's happening inside ourselves, and most of us don't have any idea of what it is. It's the separation, and all of the stuff that comes from it. The fear, the anxiety, the I'm not good enough, the I want to have power over you. All of that is the result of the same thing, the feeling of being separate. The illusion that you are separate, and the fear and the hurt that comes along when you think that you are alone. You are not alone. We are not alone. It's time that we recognize that we are the power. We are the planet. We are the ones to create the new world for ourselves. It's not up to someone else. It's not something we need to vote on. It's not even something that we need to wait to do. It's a space that we can come from, a space that we can come to within ourselves. All of the problems of the world could be fixed overnight if everyone could come from that space. In the current world, we lie to ourselves and each other all the time. We tell each other that we can't do it, that we're not good enough. When we lie, every action we take is in defense of that lie. Until we can come to a space where we are honest with ourselves, then we can start to be real with ourselves. When we come from that space, we can come to the table with something new. A new space that says, okay, what's going on? How can we fix it? Through conscious conversations with each other, we can think of new ways of doing things. Hey, shut that machine off. It's poisoning us. Done. Hey, let's rewrite our healthcare system. Let's try doing something new that works. Done. Hey, let's make all cars 100% electric. Let's make a way of generating electricity for free. That space you come from that makes that kind of conversation possible is the heart, the unity consciousness, the Christ within, also known as just plain honesty. It's a space that doesn't deny what is real in favor of a more convenient lie. It's a space that is honest about how one feels and what one sees. It's a space that listens with the intention of understanding what another says, rather than just waiting for the other person to stop talking so that you can start talking again. It's a space that's compassionate for all humans, all life, from the best of them to the worst of them. A space that holds all life as a sacred thing, and something that can be explored from a space of excitement and freedom. You are not alone. We can make this happen, and we can all do it together. We can do it for ourselves, and we can do it for each other. We can do it in a way that works. In fact, the only way to do it is to do it together, not on your own, not as the sole leader of the movement, but together. You're involved, I'm involved, and we're both doing what we love and loving what we do. And from that space, anything is possible. True freedom is the absence of limitation, the presence of possibility. Think of it this way. The ancient civilizations understood all of this, but they didn't have the technology that could create the powerful life for themselves, an amazing life full of wonder and awe. See, today we have all that technology to be able to do that, but none of the awareness of how to make it happen. It's very much Fibonacci. With Fibonacci, we take what we had previously and what we have now and add them together. We take the best of both worlds, the technology and the awareness, and we put them together. It's the natural way of doing things, so that we exist in abundance, exist in growth, exist in harmony, just like the rest of nature. It's by design. The universe is infinite. It has no beginning and no end. In both science and religion, creation is often discussed from a perspective of having a set or a specific beginning. In science, we call it the Big Bang. This is the theory that says everything in the universe was compressed to the point of a single, infinitesimally small particle, something we would perceive as unity, and then rapidly exploded and expanded outwards and created everything in the universe. In religion, it is generally called creation, when God, or some all-knowing and all-seeing entity, being the only one imbued with such power, created everything, presumably in 6 days, before taking a well-deserved day off. Let's take a step outside the box for a second and put these two sides of this cosmic coin into a Vesica Pisces. As usual, the two enemies that never got along actually have quite a lot in common. Both say that the universe started with unity and expanded outwards. Both say that light was an important factor in creation as well. If at the beginning of the universe we were one essence and somehow became everything, then both are saying the same thing, that we came from the same source. But wait a second, how can we make sense out of that statement, the universe is infinite, if we are measuring it from a sense of having a beginning? And that leads us into the topic for today, cycles. Cycles are everywhere. The way in which we live our lives is made up of cycles. We have both biological cycles and technological cycles. Biological cycles exist naturally as a part of the creation process of life, and technological cycles are cycles that we have created and superimposed over top of these other cycles as a way of measuring and understanding the reality that we are a part of. Time is a perfect example of this. It doesn't really exist on its own. It has no life of its own. It's simply a measurement of some other cycles. So you could think of it as a measuring tool, such as an hour worth of this, or I'll meet you at 6. In the past, we might have said it differently. Let's gather again at the second moon cycle. We've actually talked about cycles before, which makes it really easy to go deeper into this. If you need a recap, watch lesson 16, Shift of the Ages. Let's get more into examples of technological cycles. Take, for example, our calendars, seconds, life cycles of video game consoles. Some of them, like our year-long calendar count, is our interpretation of a natural cycle, the Earth spiraling around the sun. Others, like video game consoles, are completely based on our modern world. current technology, the economy, buyer's demand, and what have you. Biological cycles are nature. They happen in relationship to each other and are much more harmonic than the cycles that we've created. They are natural. The tree doesn't think, is it time to bear fruit yet? I'm just not sure. I think I'll hold off because I'm afraid no one's gonna eat the fruit, right? In nature, the tree just does it. It knows by its inherent instructions what it's supposed to do. It's by its natural design. Other cycles in nature are like solar and lunar cycles, the 4 seasons, and bears that hibernate. Notice too, with the information from lesson 16, you could map it like this. There are smaller cycles within the larger cycles. Like our celestial cycle, we find it broken up into the 4 seasons, and inside that, we have the cycles of the rest of life on Earth, all doing their thing in relationship with each other, which are both influenced by and influence the larger cycle. Sometimes it may not seem like the smaller cycles have no influence on the larger cycle, but just imagine the story of what happened to the Martians on Mars in the Human History movie. I'm not saying that this is exactly what happened, but if the actions of the individual beings changed the evolution of the planet that ultimately ended up in the destruction of the planet, well, that would be the smaller cycles influencing the larger cycles. You know, it's just an idea. We also have cycles within our own bodies, such as breath, drinking water or liquid, and eating food. These cycles are a lot harder to map out because we are the ones who decide when we eat, what we eat, and how much we eat. But it actually does create effects on us throughout our days. Once again, those smaller cycles have an effect on our larger day-to-day cycles. Interesting, our interactions with the 4 elements are constantly cycling. Fire, for example, is prana, which is happening all the time, more frequently than breath, drink, and food. You can see how these cycles become more dense and happen less often. You breathe more than you eat. Air is less dense than solid food, and so it stands to reason that a dense cycle has a longer duration. As you breathe in, you ride the sine wave up, and as you breathe out, you drop the sine wave back down. As you go about your day, every hour, minute, and second, you are breathing. And if you created a healthy breathing cycle for yourself, then the other cycles you are experiencing, the larger cycles, would become more harmonic naturally. If you change the cycle of your breathing, if you alter it to accommodate technological cycles, such as pollution and obesity, then once again the result is a cycle that is less harmonic with the natural order of things. Some call this dis-ease, the opposite of a natural cycle, which flows with ease. Of course, you can always correct a cycle that is in disease. Sure, it may take some time, but enough steps in the direction of a natural cycle do eventually get you back in the flow. If you start your day in a healthy way, at the start of the morning, then the rest of the day will flow that much more harmoniously. If you wake up with the sun, you ride the wave of the entire day and are more in tune with the day itself. This was a hard one for me to get and put into practice because I always used to love sleeping until noon. If you think about it, there are different things adapted for different parts of the day. Cats can see in the dark, so it makes sense that they're night animals. I have trouble seeing in the dark without superimposing a technological cycle over top of it, so maybe I should be sleeping. What I mean is lights and night goggles. Artificial light is a cycle of electricity, a technological cycle. There are positive and negative swings in the cycles. What I mean when I say positive and negative is the presence of something and the presence of the opposite of that thing. Such as with a magnet, you have a positive end and a negative end. One is pulling and one is pushing. Plus or minus, male and female. A lot of people think that negative means bad and positive means good, and that's not always the case. We're actually going to touch on that closer to the end of this video. A better way to look at it is male and female. Positive is male and negative is female. And don't get caught up on that positive is good and negative is bad. Women are wonderful, and in fact, in gender, everyone has both male and female energy, not just one or the other. It is the essence of giving and receiving. The best example I can give you is night and day. It's that simple. When we don't allow the cycles to flow in their natural order, we often create things that feel uncomfortable over and over. Sometimes we call it things we don't want. It's actually a sort of short circuit in the cycle, or a loop. The positive looping back on itself, or the negative looping back on itself. It's not supposed to be a loop. There needs to be a crossing over of the male and female energy. That's what creates the infinity, the oneness that we've all been feeling and talking about. Now, of course, we've also made the connection before between what we have described as cycles, this form, and the structure of DNA. This is the instruction set for the building blocks that make up our being. As we increase our awareness of these instructions and understanding, we can transcend our 3D perspective of reality and shift into an awareness of the interconnected causality of all of the planes of existence. There's a little trick here though. Understanding and awareness are not necessarily the same thing. Just as the tree does what it does without needing to understand, without a brain, so to speak. Understanding is not required for the instructions to be followed. That simply means that sometimes the brain just gets in the way of the natural flow of the cycles, the natural knowing that comes through your heart. On that topic, I have something important to share. There's a lot of people who like to talk about life from this new age perspective that everything is just love and light all the time, and that if we just think happily, even when things aren't going very well, we'll be fine. In fact, I realize how I might have even propagated that idea in earlier lessons and flat out said it. Now, this idea isn't wrong. It is, however, only half of the equation, half of the cycle. And if you recall, without the other half of the cycle, we have a loop. Think of it like a flowing river. If you cut off the flow, such as with a dam, it kills everything on one side by stopping the flow and everything dies of dehydration. And the other side becomes drowned in a loop which gets bigger and bigger until eventually it must break. And so, yes, we should strive to create a life for ourselves and each other that is filled with love, joy, and excitement. But when things aren't going very well, recognize if it's a part of the natural flow, or if somewhere along the way you got caught in a loop. If we lie to ourselves and pretend that the loop is the flow, even when it's not, it limits our ability to create a real transmutation of it and create something new in its place, going with the flow. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let me say it in a different way just to make sure, because this is incredibly important. Sometimes things go well, and sometimes things go poorly. It's not always your fault, but you are always a factor in the cause and influence in the cycle. If you can account for the cycle, meaning take account of it, be aware of it, you can choose to actively respond or be responsible and have an able response to it. That's what being a creator is all about. I know I just said positive and negative are not good and bad. In this example, I'm going to use good and bad in place of positive and negative. By good and bad, I mean things that feel really good and things we do want, and things that feel really bad and things we don't want. Just go with it. I know it might be a little confusing. Sometimes things feel really good and you're on the top of the wave. In this space, it's easy to ride the wave and feel good and be a creator. When you're on the bottom of the wave, if things are not excellent, sometimes it just feels easier to go to that fourth dimensional space and say, everything is perfect and in divine order. This is true from a 4D perspective. It is perfect and in divine order because it exists and is in this moment. And as it's manifesting in 3D, it is not excellent. It could be excellent, but it takes time, effort, and focused energy to transmute and change it into something that is excellent. What we need to practice is taking that positive flowing energy, and instead of looping itself back on itself, is flow with it through the negative energy in order to create a transmutation into what's next. When we say that things are perfect and in divine order, and ignore the loops or even create them as a justification to dam up the river of good feelings, we actually inhibit the flow that leads to the next. That limits our ability to take action, and ultimately, what we're left with is a poo sandwich. Here's the analogy. Say I'm making you a delicious sandwich, and you've got bread, tomatoes, avocado, chives, maybe some peppers, and a roasted portobello mushroom. That is an excellent sandwich, right? Now, say I just put a big dollop of poo right on the top. Do you still want it? Can anyone honestly say that they would still want this sandwich? It's perfect and in divine order, right? Right, but it's certainly not excellent. And I don't care how delicious the other ingredients are. If there's poo on this sandwich, it's a poo sandwich. It doesn't matter how fresh the rest of the sandwich is, or even how fresh the poo is. It's not something we want to eat. The moral of this story is that if there's poop on your sandwich, if there's something in your life that is perfect but not excellent, don't just sit there and let it be. Find out what it is, why it is the way it is, and then take some actions to turn it into something you actually truly want. In that process, in that alchemy, we can really create some powerful change on this planet. If everyone could come from that space, we would see a new Earth overnight. Because no matter how you slice it, McDonald's, landfills, oil rigs, and this entire way of life we've made for ourselves just doesn't work. And I think I can speak for all of us when I say that it could be something different, something magical, and more in harmony with ourselves and the world around us. Waste-free, flying vehicles, spirit centers, cloud cities, interstellar travel, and the infinity of possibilities that come along with it. It's all in the cycles. Okay, grand finale. To answer that big question from the beginning, how does the infinite universe have a beginning? I have a feeling you might already know. It's a cycle. And no, I don't know exactly what it looks like specifically, but I can share with you some ideas about it. Every cycle comes to an end and then begins a new cycle. Or maybe it's the old one, continuing on again. Some theories about the universe say that once it was a hugely expanded thing, and it contracted to a small point, a space of unity, and then rapidly expanded outwards again. And today, while we can't see the remnants of the previous universe, at least not yet, we can see the beginning of this cycle that we are a part of. It's really interesting. If the universe is infinite, how is it that we're existing in a finite space? And is the goal of life to take what is finite and merge it with the infinite to create a new way of life and a new understanding of ourselves? See you next time. Big news. Patch to Row has officially made its way to Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and bookshop.org. The pre-order is live right now, and it'll be hitting shelves across the US on February 28th, 2026. If you've been following Patch to Row over the years, you'll know it's always been a journey of exploring how the tarot itself can evolve. But for this worldwide edition, we decided to take a step back and ground it in the traditional structure first, a classic 78 card deck with all the original symbolism intact. This version, simply called Patch to Row, harmonizes everything from all previous editions into something new. It includes designs from the original deck, cards from Patch to Row 3, and many other new ones that bring it closer to the classic form. Yet even as a classical tarot, Patch to Row isn't just another deck. It's a full-on exploration of consciousness. Each card blends Kabbalah, alchemy, astrology, and universal wisdom into vibrant, living art. Thousands of people have already shared how Patch to Row has brought clarity, synchronicity, and magic into their lives. Place your order now using the links in the description, or just search Patch to Row on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or bookshop.org. You can also visit patchtorow.com to learn more. Your journey into the Spiritverse awaits.